Look alive, Rachel. You're muted.
Oops. Okay.
There you
Finish
are.
Minutes.
I want the nanoseconds. If I'm really picky, I want the femtoseconds.
This
Not
meeting recorded.
Mute myself on the other machine.
That's probably not a good thing. More coffee, yeah.
Sounds like a plan. How's the first week back at treating everybody?
Well, I got the floors waxed in all of the labs, and my 300 plus students are all going crazy. So yeah, it's normal.
Dartmouth just went on break.
Really?
Yeah, we have a different schedule. We're quarters.
Oh, okay.
So they come back in another 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay. Start with Grape 1 deployment. Dr. Frizels, do you want me to take attendance for this meeting? Sure. Okay. I'll be quietly doing that in the background as much as possible. If you have access
I'm here.
add yourself, feel free to do that.
I don't think I can.
Oh.
Rachel, before we get into your list, I have a few items.
Are they more important than the Grape 1 deployment? Or are they related to Grape 1 deployment?
I'm sorry?
Oh, do they take priority over the Grape 1 deployment, or are they related to the Grape 1 deployment?
It's all about the Grape 1 deployment.
Okay, is it stuff we're probably already going to talk about during the Grape 1 deployment stuff?
No.
Or is it?
Well, I'm going to talk about documentation, and I have some questions, issues, and perhaps bugs and suggestions.
Okay. Let's do hardware update first, and then we'll talk about documentation, because I feel like that.
Very good.
Okay, John, take it away.
Hey, I have finished up the new OS image, gave it to Christina, and I believe she's got it posted now up on Mendeley or whatever that's called.
That's for Grape
1.
And what is that, John, again? Finished?
It's the new OS image.
That's the FL Digi.
The
Yeah,
1.1.
FL Digi that'll accommodate the newest and latest and greatest Raspberry.
Yeah, it runs
Pi
on
hardware.
Raspberry Pi version 1.5.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And the other thing is it also now version 1, the new OS is actually using what's the name of the audio path? Nuts. It was just on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, they're using that.
Also,
Pulse. It was Pulse. That was it.
Pulse.
Pulse works. So that's how it's installed, and that's how it's working. Because I actually injected a signal with my signal generator into it, and lo and behold, it shut up, and Pulse seems to be quite happy with it. So they got that working finally. I updated the cron tab a little bit, since all future nodes are going to be at least 60. So I incremented the hour, and then you just have to do the math to figure out your minute for downloads. That was all working. I uploaded the image as well as the zip of the image. And I think Christina said she was running out of space, but the hashtag files for checksums, which whether you like to do MD5 or the other 3 different types, they're all up in a file there for that file.
This is the one for the RF experiment, right?
No, this is
No.
FL Digi, Jim. This is the quote unquote legacy.
Oh, that's the FL Digi still. Okay.
Yeah, there were some complaints about some incompatibilities. I just did an update, and it's the latest version of 5.10.2 whatever it is.
Okay, I don't see it on Mendeley yet. At least I'm using the link on the Grape 1 page, and the last update was June. In June, it looks like.
Christina on here?
Well, I'm reading her email,
Oh,
and she says that the same DOI, the DOI is going to remain the same, but she doesn't have it uploaded yet. She also says that she has to try to make room on Mendeley for the zip file, and if she can't, she's going to put it on Zenodo and put a pointer in the Mendeley repository instead. And she said it's going to make it her goal to get this posted today.
can she delete the old ones or does she have to keep the old ones?
I don't think it works that you can delete things from these repositories.
Because that's a good 20 gig right there.
Yes. I
The
know
new
how
image is 12 and 8 or 13
The-
and 8.
the model that these repositories work on is they consider it once you post something there, it's supposed to be there forever and all eternity. So people can always refer back to exactly what you had there. And I have not personally used the Mendeley version of this. I do know Zenodo. So I don't know what the size limits are for Mendeley and things like that.
Let's see, other than Grape 1, for Grape 1 updates, I think that's it for me. Oh, the Bodnar. Stan said that they got it to work and I canceled the return order to Leo. He had contacted me. We're setting it up to ship it back to him. Stan said they didn't wait long enough for the initial sync up and it locked up and it started locked in and started working. So there's no need to return it.
Okay,
I think that's it. If not, I'll chime in later, but back to net.
okay. Now we can talk about documentation.
That's a cue, George.
Could I have the screen, please?
Yes.
I've got two topics here I'd like to talk about. One of which, here, let me find it. Share screen. Share screen. Bob. This is questions, issues, and bugs about the latest image for Grape 1.12 Ubuntu. We have discovered that it's set up so that it does not work over Wi-Fi, and you need it to be wired, and that is
Correct.
interesting. And we were wondering what the decision was. I think it was that if you have it wireless, then the user is going to have to put in his router password and all that, which personally I don't think that's not much of a burden, but and wired might be a big burden. I happen to have an extra repeater that I can plug in here at the desk and get to my router, and the repeater has a wired plug on it, so I can now run this image wired. But I wanted to talk about why are we doing that? Is that agreed upon? That it's got to be wired?
I
Well,
do not
me.
believe it has to be wired. And part of that, one of the reasons for that is the assumption that the upload bandwidth from across the internet is going to be lower than the bandwidth across the wireless network, and all the actual real-time data is getting buffered or stored onto the hard drive. So you're not doing any real-time streaming that has latency issues or things like that. So I don't see any reason why wireless would not be feasible.
The latest image that I prepared supports both.
Again, please.
The latest image that I prepared supports both.
Oh, excellent.
Is if you, and I had a discussion with Bill about this yesterday, Bill Blackwell.
Wonderful.
I tested it on my system, and the way it works is Both of them are available. If you plug in a wire, it'll use that. If it's not there, it switches over to wireless. At least that's the way the latest system is working.
Excellent.
On the latest, Bill and I have been working on this, and I have a system running here, and it's running wireless just fine.
What image number is that, Bill Engelke?
Well, okay, I don't know right off the top of my head what version Joe is working with, but it's the one I'm testing burning it right now. So it's August 31. image.
0831. Thank you.
Mine is a week or two old.
Really? Because I've been running 0829, which Bill built, and it will not work wirelessly.
Yeah, Joe's has got mold on it.
This is David. I'll mention that we have been experimenting with this same issue, wired versus wireless. I've got at least one node of our system, the AM Doppler, that needs to be wireless. The issue is that we've run into is power up. You know, if it gets power cycled, the Raspberry Pi forgets its sign on unless you do the, I guess there's a command line way that's supposed to work. But what I've found that you can do is you sign it on and then do a restart.
Yep, that's
and
the way
then it remembers it.
Yep, that's the only way it remembers it.
Not a power down, but a restart.
Correct.
Right.
If you pull the plug on it and you haven't restarted it, it didn't save it.
Exactly. We
Yep.
found that, but it looks like it works fine once you go through that. And then, yeah, bandwidth is not an issue.
Yeah, wireless is about 50 megabit, and if you don't have a lot of other people on there, it won't be a problem. But if you have other people fighting for the bandwidth, you're going to run into trouble. So that's why the wired was preferred.
Yep. The other thing I'll mention is that we have ours in a metal box and don't use the onboard wireless. We have an external wireless interface, and you do need to turn the internal one off in that case.
Okay. I'm seeing some wonky parsing of uploader.config. And I want to, this is in the category of perhaps bugs. It comes up with an error, and it does not start the GNU radio. And Bill and I have been talking about this, but that's something that I'd like to look into.
Well, I think I know what might be going on there. Did you notice it occurs like after a restart or after upon power up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I think I fixed that yesterday. The latest image is a fix for that. The problem what being that there's a Python program called get date time, and it did not have the complete path to the config file. I have fixed that in the latest image, so it knows where to find the config file.
Good, thank you. It seems that the Bodner is not initiated at startup. That is, if I have a fresh Bodner, how does it get set up to the right frequencies?
You have to set it up.
How?
With the Bodnar program?
Yes.
Download from their website.
Why is that not built into the image?
It's not trivial to talk to that thing. It's proprietary.
It was done for the FL Digi version, right? I
figured it out and back engineered it, and yeah, there was a lot of work that went into that. Now that can be, I can give Bill that stuff if the frequencies are standard, but I don't know if what he's using.
Bill Engelke?
Yeah. It's written under Raspberry Pi. I think I've compiled it in C.
Yeah.
There is a special protocol that it talks to the Bodnar. But what I did was went and ran the normal Microsoft Windows version and put it in advanced mode, and I copied all the registers, and his program allows me to mimic those registers as part of the command line. So the command line's about this long for programming all the registers, but it does work.
Bill Blackwell has a dandy little Python program. I think it's Python. I don't.
No,
But
it's Bash.
that sets the frequency to all the bands.
Well, all it does is call John's aliases for the SF frequency.
Oh,
Yeah. But it's handy for it, for testing, the Grape with different Bodnar frequencies, one after another. That's what we're using it for, and it's a Bash script.
Oh, is that what's recommended for the user to do?
No, this is just for us for when we're testing.
Well, no, I mean, that raises a question. If we're going to build these, I'm just talking about for this phase, for the rollout that we're doing immediately. Is the New England group going to set up the Bodnars that go out with the system kits?
Yeah,
They should, yeah.
yeah.
So it will be shipped with a Bodnar that's been initialized, right?
I've been
should do.
I've been putting them on 10 megahertz after I complete testing.
Yep.
I mean, now that needs to be verified before it goes out the door, but I guess the person could always use the Bogner download, because that seems to work fine.
All right.
But
Yeah,
it's
but that's for later. Bill's right. It's the first 15 that you guys are building, we need to get right. So you guys got a good plan.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll just be turnkey. They'll all be hard set to 10 megahertz or
Good.
999.
Bill, what is your digital RF actually recording? Is it the carrier? Or are you doing the sideband trick where you're a kilohertz low and listening for a frequency?
Well, it's mixing. It takes the carrier and it mixes a signal with it, and then it takes the result of that. And so I guess you would say the latter. I mean,
yeah. So you're not hearing any audio, you're just listening for the carrier shift.
Right.
Okay.
That is one. I mean, here's the thing.
That's why we're here.
Tom McDermott developed this technique.
Okay.
And I am using what he developed because I'm not a signal processing expert. So I am, and it seems to work great. I mean, the Doppler shift is there. It's quite visible.
Yep.
So
this is coming off of the Grape board?
Yeah, it comes from the Grape into the audio, the little audio
right. Okay.
plugs in.
So that's the thing. I actually developed that one, but yeah, that's just a low IF radio.
Yeah, that's the way we've always run the Grape, right?
Right.
Okay, so moving on, why are we mounting the hard drive at the root rather than at Media Ubuntu, which is much easier? This is something that we would configure here, that the Grape group.
It saves you the hassle of having to do the mount. What that does is you just plug the drive in and it's there. You don't have to put the UUID stuff in.
If you do it with Media Ubuntu, if you just plug it in.
Yeah, because the UUID is going to be unique for each drive.
Right.
By doing it the way we're doing it, we're putting a label on it.
Yeah.
Putting it in a known place.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where in the file system it is. We just made it easy.
Well, there's a movement
you can replace the drive without having to change anything. It makes your job a whole lot easier.
That's true. But there is a movement.
I don't really agree with that. In my experience, the way it works with Ubuntu, you plug any drive, well, normally if you plug a drive in, it recognizes it and mounts it automatically.
Right.
So one of the, I mean, there's pros and cons with either one. The downfall of the direct mount at root is if the drive isn't plugged in when you start the system up, the system won't boot. It goes into emergency mode.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we found.
I mean,
That's right.
I set it up that way because John recommended, and I figure he knows what he's doing. So, I mean, it can be done that way.
So are we gonna go with not mounting it at root, but just letting them plug it in to media one, two?
You want to have the drive there for the software to work. So if it isn't there, you should go into emergency mode. You
That's
can't
right.
do
That's
anything.
right.
I mean, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, it's a safeguard.
Okay,
We're mounting it en route as, I think we called it DRF data or something like that.
G1 DRF, but
DRF. That was
but
it.
Yeah,
that means we're gonna need to document how
Oh,
you,
yes, I was just about to say the same thing, Bill. We need to document
we're-
that. Let the users know that if you start up the system while the drive plugs in, it won't boot.
that's right. Well, we're getting to documenting it. This is why we're going through these questions first. Why do we need 4 terabytes?
You don't.
You don't. I mean, this allows you to keep a local copy of all your data for months on end.
How about 150 years?
Do I
Yeah.
care?
Yeah. Well, you know, the other thing is, in the past, we've talked about also collecting at the same time the 8 kilohertz data,
Yeah,
8 kilohertz bandwidth, and you can very easily set up like a new radio flow graph to collect them both and save them both.
Just
This is like future proofing. I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay, the Grape 2 saves the full 8 kilohertz bandwidth on 3 radios. So I'm saving 10.5 gigabytes of information per day. So a 1 terabyte drive would last me about 100 days.
right,
Which probably went to a 4 terabyte, which will last you a little over a year.
right.
That's
Right, and
why
there's a-
you have the large drive.
But that's Grape 2 and.
Well, there's a chance that these Grape 1 systems will get upgraded, and why throw out the drive? So I think this is a very prudent decision.
Very
Yeah.
good. We have no provisions in the current image, or I believe for the user to change bands, say, well, no, I want to listen to 5 megahertz instead of 10. And I understand that is an issue, and perhaps we don't want to do that, but
This is specifically for the Eclipse, and we decided that 10 was the one we wanted, so that's why you can't change it.
right.
We
Right,
can do that later if we need to.
right. But if you were to move the jumper and go into config file and change that from 10 to 5, it's not going to work.
Correct.
What is the reason it's not going to work, George?
I believe that the 10 in the config file is ignored. Is that not true?
No. Whatever's in the config file, it will take and puts that in the metadata in the DRF.
Will it
You can even
reprogram the
misconfigure
Bodner?
it.
Will it
I'm sorry?
reprogram the Bodner?
No.
No,
No, I don't think so.
no, so it's not gonna work.
No, wait a minute. I mean, I don't think you have to reprogram the Bodner to change bands, or do you?
You
Yes, you
do.
yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
the
you do.
local oscillator mix frequency. It comes from the bottom there, so.
I want to listen to 5 minus a kilohertz.
So
Okay.
that's a future task. That's an improvement that's TBD.
Well,
Yeah.
TBD, not for this particular release.
Correct.
Emergency mode and startup, we've just talked about that. And so that's all I have on this document, but now we get to the real meat of why I'm here, which is the documentation, which is another document where I realize that I don't have the technical mojo to write the entire document. So I'm taking the position that I will collect pieces from those that know and act as somewhat of an editor and stitch everything together and make it a nice document set. So here is what I have for an outline of what we're doing here. This is to be a startup guide for the 15 Negro Grape 1.12 DRF systems only. This is not for general, how to do ham-sci Grape, but I'm thinking that this would be shipped with the neg stations, and posted somewhere on the internet for those whose dog has eaten the instructions. I have tasks here. Red means I haven't heard anything yet. Green means that we're underway, and dark green means we're done. Nathaniel, you had suggested that you would provide an introduction for this startup guide.
Yeah, I can probably write something up today, I think.
Okay, good. That would be wonderful. Only a couple of paragraphs would be fine.
Great. If you send me this document in an email, as soon as I'm done talking to David Kasdan, I'm gonna go hide in a coffee shop and answer emails and think about things like this.
Okay, I'll send you this.
Great.
Okay, I will.
Is it that you can run, but you can't hide coffee shop?
Yeah, pretty much.
The duct tape on the door doesn't work anymore.
No.
I will make an annotate. I have a system photo that you've all seen. I will annotate that and include it in this document. For setup, Stan has given me a nice text file of this stuff, which is sort of how to unpack it. There's a parts list discussing the proper setup location and the GPS antenna, how to power it, and you might need a USB hub. What's not covered is setting the time zone, which you don't need to run this digital RF, but it's nice to see the proper time show up.
Should be UTC, should it not?
Say again?
It should be UTC, which means you
Well,
don't.
it is UTC everywhere except the top of your screen and on the timestamps on the H5 files that it makes under CH0. They are all local times.
Is that correct,
Bill? Bill Engelke and I discussed that and found that if you set it to automatic time zone, it will adjust the time zone to your locality, and it does that by figuring out who your ISP is, I believe. The problem with that is that people on Starlink, may get the wrong time zone. If you're on ISP, if your ISP is Starlink, but you can set it, and we may have to document how people should set it if they want to.
Right.
But that doesn't affect the timestamp of the data. That's getting collected. That's always in UTC.
Speak.
I was wondering, is the time zone in the metadata? Or why would you not do UTC?
It's all UTC, right?
The data saved UTC.
Yeah, this is just for the user to, as you're looking at the screen and you say, well, that date is wrong, or that time is an hour off, because right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just
I've gotten used to that.
I don't know. I think maybe just using setting it as a UTC time zone, the people who are operating these systems should be aware that data is being stored in UTC. So
Right.
they should know that, and it actually may give them more confidence to see that, oh, look, the time that's being shown on the screen right now is in UTC. That may give them more confidence.
But that's not how Ubuntu does it.
What's that?
That's not how Ubuntu does it.
But why can't we set the local time zone to also be UTC and have it just match everything?
Ubuntu supports that.
Yeah, we set our computers to UTC to display that.
Yeah, then we don't have to worry about telling people to set time zones or anything like that.
Does the user have to do that? Set it to UTC? I mean, currently the image comes from Central Time Zone.
Well, if Bill sets it in the image, it'll be set to UTC and it'll be done. Yeah, he just has to go in and do the system setting on the distro. And Bill, you know how to do that, right?
Yeah, well, but we need to stop making changes to the distro because I'm fixing to start burning chips this weekend.
Yeah, that's another topic here that a few of us feel that it's too early to be burning those cards because there's these issues. But you've addressed many of them so far. So I don't know. I'm just saying that we're up here beta testing and getting a little antsy.
That's part of
So
development.
we'll talk about that in a hard drive assembly and connection. Bill has said that he will do that, Bill Blackwell. And also discuss the mounting of it. If somebody has their own drive, they're gonna have to name it and take care of that themselves, and hopefully.
And also make sure that they have formatted it ext4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Bob Reif has said that he will do a short blurb on antenna configurations. He's built a mess of antennas, but he once upon a time he mentioned to me that there are several ways that you can deploy the antenna, and I think he wants to talk about that. Bill Engelke, I hope that you have a couple of papers, sort of white papers on how to on what's going on. You have an older paper, how to set up and use, and a newer one that has a nice list of the files and what they do. I'm wondering if you can merge them together.
Okay, yeah. George, when you say UI description, are you talking about the UI and the personal space for the station network web server, or on the Grape?
Say again, please.
Are you talking about the user interface of the personal space weather network web server, or are you talking about some UI issues on the Grape Raspberry Pi?
On the Grape station, yeah. Like, you can scroll within the power plot and see the noise floor, and you can I don't know what else you can do. But
really not that much.
Yeah, not that much.
I'll do something on that. But I think, yeah, I mean, your next item is navigating the repository. I do have a paper that goes through all the steps necessary to set up your account, station, and instrument on the personal space for the station network. And we're working very hard to make sure that at least all of our 15 initial stations are set up, because I have to know that, I have to have that to set up their chip.
Yep. Okay, the next one is okay, as you were saying, the server, how does one navigate the repository? I think one of your documents talks about that. Actually, the older one does. And so that might well be covered, but I'll leave it to you to figure that out.
All right.
Troubleshooting, it was mentioned possibly that's a blog. Instead of having a user desk or a user consultant, have a joint thing where users can upload a question and have the community answer it. If that's going to be the case, where is that going to be? Who sets it up and who monitors it?
How about the Hampside Grape Google group that we already have?
Okay. And who's going to monitor that?
Joe W7LUX has offered to jump in on hardware issues, and Jim Farmer, K4BSC, who's here, has offered to facilitate things. I mean, it's a community group, so whoever knows the answer will probably jump in. If somebody gets stuck, we've got Joe and Jim to help beat the bushes to get an answer.
So who's going to set up the Google group subgroup or whatever?
No, there's no subgroup. It is the Google, the Hampside Grape Google group, the one and only that we've got.
Okay. Come on, HAMSCI, go. Is it, at least to me, I'd like to read the H5 files just to see. And I have looked into that, and it's apparently not a straightforward thing to set up a reader. Do we want to cover that?
That is a job for a programming expert.
Yeah.
Reading H5 files is challenging even for me. I mean, there's online documentation that's in, I mean, I'm sure there's megabytes of data out there. Now, bear in mind that what we're working with is digital RF files here, which is a special case of H5, and there is some documentation online on the GitHub repository of the digital RF team that's maintained by MIT Haystack team. That is probably where, if you want to look into the DRF, but put it this way, that is not a job for an amateur programmer. It is.
I noticed that, yeah.
Quite challenging. So
George, another source I found, I was poking around doing the same thing. And there's something from CERN on reading these H5 files. So just something, another possible avenue.
You should, may I make a comment? Let me emphasize, you don't want to think about these as HDF5 files. You want to think about them as digital RF files. It's another layer. You want to use the MIT Haystack digital RF tools to do the plotting and the visualization. Don't just go to a regular HDF5 reader. You will be very lost. But if you do install the tools that they have, I'm putting the link in the, Gary already put the link in the chat. If you use the tools there, you can, you will be able to create spectrograms and waterfall displays using the data in the format that it already is.
Nathaniel, could you document what tools those are?
I unfortunately do not have time. I am totally underwater.
So are we all.
I know. So they do have a mailing list. I'm trying to see if they have any documentation on here. They have docs. They have some PDFs. So if you look under here, they have documentation there.
Look under which?
I just put it in the link.
Chat. It's in the chat.
And it's in the chat, and looking to see if they have anything that shows plots. I don't see anything that shows actual plotting examples. Workflows? No.
Yeah,
I think
I've never come across any plotting software other than software that was written by me.
Yeah, no, it absolutely. Where did I see it? It absolutely is in there.
All right, we will look, or I will look.
And again, this is a sort of thing, I think you had good success recruiting a programmer to help with the real-time display. I would suggest going on the Hamside group and try to recruit a programmer who'd be willing to write one of these up. Let's see.
I did put that out there a couple weeks ago, and I did get a couple of replies, and I told them to stand down because Bill took care of the immediate issue. But we do have a couple of people that have GNU radio experience professionally.
So yeah, I think that would be really good. Here is the link to the plotting code. So if you click that, that's a direct link to the plotting library that they have.
Okay, I can't do that while I'm sharing the screen, but okay.
Well, the other thing is, we've got something brand new. We're putting it out into the ham-sized citizen science ecosystem. I suggest get it out there. Let's see what people ask for and collaborate on what the requirements are before we run off and find a program and ask them to start doing stuff.
Agreed.
Just give it some time, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah, but I have used in the past these tools to do these plots. So they absolutely do exist. It does work.
Hopefully
just,
we can all take a stab at finding them. But
yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
I'll take a look at that. But one thing that I would say, just for Gary's information, the people who know something about GNU radio and displaying stuff from GNU radio, that's a completely different population of people who know how to plot digital RF files once they've been stored.
Yes. Okay, good. That's good to know.
Yes, that's true. They're not the same.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I will back to Ned.
Okay. Go ahead and share the minutes. Documentation is now under a separate tab in the minutes. If you want to revisit any of the links, they'll be here. With that, we can talk about software.
Bill Engelke, are you confident that what you're about to burn is, how shall I say, close enough? I mean, there will always be a bug, but close enough?
Well, I'm trying to, I mean, so far, each time I've had one that I thought was close enough, I've always found some kind of a real irritating thing that I felt need to be fixed. So I feel like it's pretty close. I mean, I guess what would be useful would be for us to talk a little bit about the schedule. By what date do we need to have these ready, because they have to be shipped and the New England group has to put them in the correct pre-built systems, I guess, and then test each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the sooner we can get that done, if we can get these into people's hands, we can begin shaking this down sooner, because I'm sure we'll find more things.
And maybe we maybe we publish images after shipment as people find things.
I mean, it's possible. It's not great, because then people have to have something to burn the chips with, but or
I think that
was just a random thought.
what Bill and I discussed was that when we get the SD cards from you, Bill, we will put them in the Pis and do a system test. We'll boot it up. The disk will be formatted. We will allow the new radio scheduler to run, and to run a few minutes to collect a few minutes data and see that it's on the disk, and then stop the scheduler and let it upload. And if all of that works, we'll probably delete those files, those directories, and clean the disk in that way, and assume, it's good to go. That's kind of the plan of record for testing each of the 15 systems.
yeah, I was planning to validate that uploading will work on each individual pre-built system for that particular user, because you've got to get the user ID and the token both correctly set up.
So the data will go in for each of the 15 systems up to the repository, and I assume we'll need to delete that at some point, but we'll be connecting it to the Grape and to the Pi that is going out to each user.
Yeah. Does it need to be deleted? I don't know. Anyway.
Okay.
It's just that it'll be a few minutes worth of data, and I don't have a good delete tool right now, because it's a long technical explanation, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. From a research point of view, we may just set a start date of September 15th, 2023 and ignore everything prior to that. Maybe it's that simple. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, September 15th is 2 weeks. So we need to go ahead and begin moving forward with this. The image, I'm burning an image right now to test it. And if it looks pretty clean, it's occurring to me to start setting some of these up and testing them, because I'm sure I'll run into little issues with testing the upload as well. So I got to plan some time to get past that.
Hey, Bill, if that image will be online, I can, because I've been running DRF for almost 2 years now, I can update it on my system so you have another data point there.
Yes. Yeah, I have been putting the images on the onto the UA server with a date. Although I will say the one I uploaded yesterday, 8:30, rather the 8:30, is not clean. I ran into problems trying to boot from it. So I'm burning another one right now that I'm hoping is going to be better.
This is to be 831.
I'm working on an 831 version right now, and I'm going
Alright.
to test it later this morning.
Would you?
Okay.
would you-
Well, when
Would
you
you
have the stable one, I'll burn it onto a card and get that running on my system.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. that's a good
would you
idea.
would you let the NAG know when you got that? Because like I say, we're beta testing here.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Bill, please let W7LUX also know.
All right.
We are literally spending our days on this.
Okay. I'll take that as a back to Ed. Any server image stuff we're testing. All right. Just to get this off the to-do list, John, did you send Bill Engelke more SD cards?
They were ordered and they're shipping directly to him.
Perfect.
These are 32-bit, 32 gig cards.
Yes, they are.
Okie doke.
Okay. We have some more image testing. So I know last week there was problems with syncing the botner. Are those resolved?
Yes,
Perfect.
that was the one that wouldn't sync up if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, John, I think there was a bad connection. There was multiple getting the antenna to the test bench. She went through a
Rube Goldberg setup, huh?
yeah. And
Okay.
and I think that was the problem, because when I got around to checking it again before we were going to send it back, it sunk up pretty quickly, and it's sunk up several times since. And so I think it's fine at this point. Sorry for the false alarm, but
Better safe than sorry.
well, yeah.
Sort of the description of what's called picnic, problem in share, not in computer.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. Any updates on station selection?
Nope, just what's there in item 4. So I think my plate is fairly clean at this moment.
Oh, we can fix that.
And here is the picture. And it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Okay, anything else on the Grape 1 deployment?
Well, just a question for Gary, please.
Sure.
Gary, how many of the selected appropriately geographically located people are going to be supplying their own hard drive?
Probably quite a few, because you guys are supplying 15 systems out of the 25 or something like that. So there's 10 people that are literally building their own systems from the ground up.
Right. So we may need instructions for them on how to format that drive and how to name it.
Yes. Absolutely.
I'm formatting the 15 drives. I've developed a script to do that, to partition and format the drives, but this only works with the 4 terabyte drives. So John, you wanted that because, for Grape 2, you're going to be doing 50 of them.
Yeah.
So it'll work for, a standard size drive, but I'm not sure this script would be usable for a generic drive, without a known, size or configuration. But, I can keep working on that if I have time and try to generalize it.
In your free time.
Yeah.
That would be very cool, Bill. This thing is actually coming together.
Everyone knock on wood. Okay,
Nothing like a good deadline to make things happen, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
okay. Any other questions? Concerns in the Grape 1 deployment?
Yeah,
Has the request to delay the eclipse been approved yet?
We
I
can
think
sound
it's
like
still
we
going through, it's still going through the government bureaucratic channels, John.
Oh, man.
We'll
Yeah,
we'll
the
we'll know if it's approved by May.
connection's a little weak.
Yeah.
I don't know if this may be a good time, but we were looking at this Grape 1 deployment thing. And the issue came up with the 4 terabyte drive. We're a little nervous about sending these things out without something covering the bottom of that drive.
Because,
we-
because of electrical problems?
Yeah, well, the circuit boards is exposed and things.
Yeah.
So the Grape group's kind of got a one-track mind, but we came up with something like this.
Here, I'll stop sharing.
That looks very nice.
Another board, yeah.
Now there's obviously this big connector gonna go here. And there would be a cable restraint on the board. It's bigger than it needs to be, but the idea was this. And of course, obviously, you can unwind the cable here and put it back on the corner of your desk or wherever.
Where's the controller for the drive?
Well, this
It's
isn't
not
the
in the
regular
picture.
drive.
Yeah, I was gonna say that looks like a PATA drive, not a
Yeah,
SATA.
this is just something I pulled out of a tower here because I don't have a real drive. But
Because the controller plugs into the drive
yeah,
itself.
yeah, plugs in right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
That's
has,
why there's this.
It's
it
a
has
big,
a data connector on it.
And it's
Bigger
got
connection.
a wall wart as well.
Yeah.
Just because Bill and I live 10 miles from each other, we haven't seen each other in months.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what we're thinking of doing. This is just made up of some scraps and stuff, but something like that to protect the bottom of the drive and make it a little more organized.
And you're gonna mount it with 4 screws from the bottom, right, Bob?
Yeah.
Now, the thing I found with that is that the adapter, the SATA adapter, extends a little bit, like 1/8 of an inch below the frame of the 4 terabyte drive. So we're gonna put
So
that on.
So it won't lay flat.
So
Put
there'll
little
have to be a spacer.
spacers in there. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not a problem as long as
I'll bring it up to Groton.
Okay, now, one of the things, has anybody evaluated these drives as a potential noise source? Electrical noise, I'm referring to.
no.
That's what I expected.
I did some checking on my system here, and the drives with the power supplies are very quiet especially compared to those for the Raspberry Pi, which is horribly noisy.
Okay, good. The issue is it would be possible to put a shield under the drive when we do this, and I just wondered if somebody had some information about what we might expect, but I wish sometime back early in this thing, somebody said when we were showing pictures of the receiver board, where's the drive? But we thought it was going to be in a case, so I think this will work though. It won't take us.
Originally was suggested to be in a case, but it cost too much.
Okay.
Well, where's the 12 volts coming from?
There's a wall wart that comes with the drive.
Yeah.
Which means you need a big outlet strip or a bunch of little plug-ins from the hardware store.
Yep.
Little T's.
Well, I didn't have to, but I did buy an enclosure for my drive. And so I'm just bringing in power and USB. Is that an acceptable configure? I mean, it should help with noise problems, but am I barking up the right tree there?
Sounds reasonable to me.
My drive needs two sources. One, it plugs into a USB hub, powered hub, and the other one is a wall wart, 12-volt wall wart to run the I guess the motors on the drive.
Yep.
Right. And then the SATA interface per se is, in my case, it's provided by the enclosure.
Right, but that SATA interface should plug directly into the Raspberry Pi and not through a hub.
But does the SATA interface have a 12-volt plug on it?
It has a 5-volt input for the wall wart to run the drive.
But the drive needs 12 volts.
There's a power supply that comes with the drive.
Yeah,
It has a separate
maybe just
power
12.
supply.
Yeah, it's a separate power supply. Maybe it is.
You plug the power supply into the SATA adapter. It's got a little jack on the back of the SATA adapter. The one we got 15 of. So
yeah,
get the long power strip.
The adapter says 12 volts at 2 amps output.
yeah.
Oh.
But that SATA cable from the drive should go into the USB 3 port of the Raspberry Pi 4.
Yeah,
should
it
not
is.
go through a hub.
I've not seen a drive come with a power supply before. Where did these come from?
We ordered them.
But
I don't think mine had a
is
power
this-
supply.
Is this
Well,
the purple drive?
Yes.
Mine didn't come with a power supply.
No,
Yeah,
it
my
was
power
ordered
supply
separately.
Came with the enclosure.
Yeah, it came with the controller.
Yeah, the SATA controller comes with a wall wart. It did not.
Right. No, but it's not a case. It's just a controller.
Correct.
Right.
And the little wall wart plugs into the controller.
Oh, well, that's a separate item. I didn't know about that.
It comes with it, yeah.
this is the box it came in, but it doesn't show the power supply, but it's included in there. And the power supply just plugs into the back of the SATA.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Here's the external enclosure for the drive, and then it's just got a wall wart, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we bought an enclosure rather than that type of interface, it would take care of the shielding.
Yeah, those enclosures come with power supplies too, and the SATA cable all together. So
Yeah, and I got one that also has a cooling fan in it, and I've been running it for 2 years, and yeah, it works good.
yeah.
And we didn't buy the enclosures because they were too expensive.
Yeah. It was like twice the price.
How much was the price?
I want to say the controllers are like 18 or 20 bucks, and the cases are starting somewhere around 30 and up.
Yeah, so we already ordered these.
Yep.
Yeah, I have 15 of them.
Okay. And I feel like for durability's sake, the case is probably a better choice, but
Yeah, I just checked it. The one I bought was $35.
That sounds about right.
We don't. If we did go with a case, then the Grape group wouldn't have to build those wooden boards, right?
Right.
And you wouldn't have to worry about the shielding or a lot of these. physical
Are the
protections.
cases RFI or just plastic?
Some of them are, the ones that I've seen were plastic. So
Yeah, mine is
depend on
plastic.
that for shield.
Mine is
So
plastic.
you're not
Yeah.
shielding enough that. And the metal ones are a lot more expensive. You're probably talking 70 bucks for those.
Oh, yeah, much more expensive.
Yeah, this one's
But
plastic.
the
Why?
Well, the ones we've used have, the interface is shielded. The drive itself may not be.
Yeah.
I guess I have a question about power
That-
supplies because right now I'm running my hard drive through the powered USB hub to the Raspberry Pi. And it seems to be working fine.
Well, there's a data throughput concern doing that. And if you have more than one thing going through the hub, depending on which hub you get, it sometimes loses it. That's why we're staying away from that. It's okay for a keyboard and stuff, but if you have a very high data stream going to it all the time, it's not a good idea.
In other words, the powered hub is not useful.
Not for the drive.
Let's say that, but typically we've got the ODR going directly into the Pi. We've got possibly a little keyboard dongle.
I got the sound card going in.
The sound card, and then the hard
You're
drive.
running out of
Well,
ports.
Are you using one of these hard drives or a 2.5-inch drive?
I have one of the purple 4 terabyte drives
Oh.
here.
And you're doing it 5 volts on,
5 volts is coming from the powered hub.
and there's no external supply for the interface?
Yeah, there's a 12 volt that plugs into the SATA interface.
Ah,
Well, that 12 volts is also supplying its 5.
right,
Yeah.
You don't need the powered hub for that.
right.
It's not taking power from it.
Okay. But I'm running out of ports.
Well, you need the hub for the ports. I'm just saying you don't need it for the power.
Yeah, okay.
If
And
you
because the sound
can,
card needs to go in there.
yeah, if you can, put the keyboard and mouse on the hub and put the disk and sound card on the direct ports.
Yeah, okay.
Is there a reason
This wants to be on the USB 3 port. The sound card can be on the USB 2 port, as well as the keyboard.
Is there a reason the Bodnar
These
has
are
to
Pi
be-
4s.
I'm sorry, say again?
Oh, are these Pi 4s?
Yes.
Yeah, so the left-hand two are blue and are the USB 3. I want it,
Yeah,
the hard drive
black
wants
one's a
to be on
USB
one of
2
those.
and the blue one's a USB 3, correct?
The blue ones are on the right.
Correct.
On the,
Depends on which way you're looking at.
Oh, if you're looking down the throat, they're on the right.
Is there a reason the Bodnar has to be plugged into the Raspberry Pi? Is there anything timing critical going between the Bodnar and the Pi?
No.
No,
That's what I thought.
It's just getting power for it, because you've
Right.
already set it up.
No,
That could be on
the
the-
Bodnar can go in the hub.
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Well, it's really convenient to put the little dongle right next to the USB sound card, which is very wide.
Yep.
well, the sound
keyboard.
card is mounted external. It isn't mounted to the Pi. It's mounted on the board.
Yeah,
That
I'd
was
use the
one of
cable
the way
because it's
to-
so wide.
Oh, you have
Yeah.
an extender cable there, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
John, did you by any chance try the Sabrent audio interface that has the interface cable included with it?
Yeah, the
That
noise
looks
floor
almost
is a lot-
identical?
the noise floor is a lot worse.
Oh, interesting. One would have
Yeah.
thought they'd use the same chip.
You would think, but they're not the same. At least the one I tested.
Right.
Yeah, appreciate that testing.
Okay. Just because we're 5 minutes over, going to try to move us along.
I just want to ask, does it make sense to keep going with the bare hard drives and that cable? Or would it be better to go with an actual case even if it's more expensive?
Well, you're talking 15 units at, probably 70 to $85 a piece. So you're talking another $1,500.
So
the
you said
metal
they
case,
were
right?
like $35 a piece.
No, those are the
That's
plastic.
a plastic case.
Right.
That is not going to give you the EMI.
No, but it
protection.
will give you it will
Protection.
give you a physical protection that you don't have right now.
Right.
Which
Well, this, you know, this is more effort. I won't argue that, but it's not a lot of effort.
okay.
Yeah, we're running out of time to be
You know-
making these kinds of changes. This is a
Well,
little late in the game.
I won't argue that at all, but I think it's, you know,
No,
it's a
I
few
just
hours. It's a few hours at the bandsaw, you know.
well, have you made it already?
No,
Okay.
this
So I
is
mean,
just this is just a mock-up.
okay. So I
But-
mean, yeah, it may be late to make some of these some of these types of changes, but if he has to spend 5 to 10 hours at the bandsaw making this thing, and then you actually still have the hard drive exposed, maybe using the case
Well,
makes
it's-
more sense.
The,
You know, it's a good idea to have protection because if you have exposed electronics sitting out and it's powered up, if you so much as drop a wrapper from a piece of gum on it, you could smoke the system.
Right.
So
Yeah.
well,
That's true of the
there's
Grape
nothing
itself.
exposed, the way we've got it configured here.
Except
right.
the grape receiver itself is totally
Yeah.
exposed.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's a concern to me is the connector on the Pi is exposed.
You talking about the 40-pin header?
Yeah, the 40-pin header with the case that, or, heatsink assembly, it's really not a case, and
Well, it's kind of
By my
protected by the
definition.
heatsink, but yeah.
Right now the hard drive is connected by USB though, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Right.
There might be
I-
other mounting options for the hard drive if you get creative with your existing setup that you don't have to make a second board. You might be able to make a riser or something, stick it above something.
we thought of that. And
I think if I were a person receiving this thing, I think I would feel more comfortable if all the data were being stored in a hard drive that came in a well-formed case and provided normal protection. So at $35 by 15, we're talking like $550, $600. I kind of think that might be a better way to go than these cables and the wooden platforms.
I'd feel
And-
better with that too.
You agree with that, Jim?
Yes.
It's 525. So and I think they could be obtained quickly, and I don't think that would change that shouldn't change any of the programming scope, and it would save Bob and his team a number of hours building additional.
yeah,
That's my impression, and I haven't looked at the budgets, but I feel like we could find the money for that if necessary. Even if I had to pull it from a different grant.
Yeah, to play time advocate, how about
Okay.
sometime before next week, you can look at the budget. Just it is an option.
To
Because if
Bob's point about the exposed 40-pin connector on using the cases that we got for the Pi, those cases come with 2 of these guys, and one could cut off all those pins and just plug it in to the 40-pin connector to thereby blind them all, and therefore they would not be in danger of shorting or anything.
Is there a version of that connector that just has no pins, just holes.
Oh, I don't know, but what I'm saying is the case comes with two of them.
Yeah, but
Even a piece of tape over the, on the
Oh.
case, just sort of wrap it over would be enough. You don't really have to get fancy on this, but I don't think it's really an issue.
I
Well,
agree.
there's 5 volts. There's 5 volts there
Yeah.
for sure. And
and 3
all
volts.
the signal pins. I mean, I don't know what it,
You don't wanna have them exposed, so a
Yeah.
little piece of tape would be just great. Duct tape.
well,
Just be careful that the glue on duct tape does generate static, as well as cellophane tape and all that kind of stuff. Many kV
all
static.
right.
You gotta be careful.
Scotch cellophane tape.
That's even worse.
All right, chewing gum.
I like the idea of a blind connector.
Yeah.
Then you'll never get it off.
Oh,
if-
you can get it off. You have to take the case apart, but you can get it off.
I think we're worrying a lot about nothing on this one. I've never in all my time have any trouble with that. I'm
Well,
kind of
good.
inclined to leave it alone.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
Moving on.
we're only trying to,
We're only trying to optimize.
well, yeah. If I see something I think might be a problem, I'd like to bring it up. That's all.
That's fair. Can I make a suggestion that we table this and bring it up? Because I have class at 11:30, so I have to run out of here in 4 minutes, and I'd like to know if there are any updates on the Grape 2 work.
Yeah, if you let me share my screen.
Yes, absolutely.
Just one quick question. Is it the consensus that we're going to put the clock on the standard system at UTC?
I think
It's
that's what
fine by me.
I thought so.
Yeah.
That's what everybody wants. Because the system computes it regardless of what time zone you're in. It computes UTC. But I think it's probably kind of cool. We just got to make sure we document it and tell people, you're looking at the clock, don't change it. It won't hurt if they change it, but
yeah.
To explain the reason why it shows what it shows. Okay, back to Nick.
Okay. This is a picture of last night. This is the Grape 2 here. This is the digital RF board. This is the Pico. This is the Raspberry Pi. And on the display, I'm looking at the analog outputs that feed the 380Ds for the 3 radios. Yellow trace is WWV5. Purple trace is WWV10. And the blue trace is WWV15. This was at 3:21 UTC last night. That's live signals of actual WWV. So
nice.
It lives.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
It's interesting to watch the phasing on this because you could see there's an inversion between 10 and 15.
Yeah.
And 5 and 10. And yeah, it walks all over the place as you would expect. But
I have one recommendation for people using these systems. The Pi power supply is very noisy. Wind the cord around a toroid. You can get these from Ham Radio Outlet. You can get them directly from Palomar Engineers in California. Little Walmart toroids. It really quiets these things down.
that would imply you got a common mode problem.
Is that are you talking about for the Raspberry Pi or what?
Yeah, the Raspberry Pi power supplies are terribly noisy. Every one I've used here, I've had to put those on to keep from pegging my S meter on my regular ham communications equipment.
What kind of a grounding system do you have in your shack, Joe?
One running out to a bunch of ground rods outside.
And you have a distribution plate on your shack, in your shack for the grounds?
It's not very good. You're correct there, but I'm running one in a completely different environment, a few feet from me right now. There's no grounding on it at all.
Yeah, that can make a huge difference. So,
Joe, could you post a link to the toroid you're talking about?
I sure can. Palomar-engineers.com.
A quick question for John.
But they make 1,000 things.
Well, just
Right.
post the link to the actual unit.
Yeah,
Yes, Tom.
Walmart, sure, I'll do that.
So I want to run 2 DRF units, one on 5 and one on 10 megahertz before the eclipse, because this seems like it's going to be kind of a nighttime daytime transition. And I think that would be kind of cool to see both of them. I'm like 3 components shy of building another Grape 1.1. Is there any real reason for me to build 2 1.2s, or is the 1.1 fine?
1.1 is fine.
Okay. And should I use an antenna splitter so both of them are coming from exactly the same RF input?
Well, I'm optimizing for voltage transfer, not for power transfer. So you can actually, let's see, no, you cannot parallel them because the two input filters.
I use a
can't
power
change it.
splitter from the antenna.
Yeah, you power
And
splitter
it,
from
of
the
course,
antenna.
takes it down a couple of dB.
You'll be half power each one, but yeah, you need to split them.
Okay, I have a Narnia microwave power splitter, so I'll just put that in.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, the Grape 2 has that all built into the front end. As a matter of fact, I've got a gain control that you can go from 1 to 10 on as well, which helps.
Nice.
I have an amplified shielded loop for my antenna, so I have plenty of power coming in, so the power splitter won't hurt.
Yeah, good. You're all set. And back to Rachel. Where did she go? She must have taken off for class. Nope, she's there. Maybe not.
She's off to class.
Off to class. Yeah, it is getting late.
In
So.
the chat.
Ah. So I guess that's it for today.
Unless you have any other Grape 2 updates.
Now, the only last comment I want to make are the instructions that George are working on, I think will be useful for all the recipients, not just the 15 people getting your hardware, but I think the others that are building their own stations. There's gonna be a lot of valuable information in there, so we want to make that accessible.
Agreed. That's why I suggest posting it.
Yeah.
Question for Gary. I am updating the instructions for installing the new install of the Grape version 1E. Or Grape version 1E. You sent those to me, your mods, right?
Yes.
Okay. If I can't find them, I'll ask for them.
They're extremely minor, but yeah, get them to me in the next day or so, because I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay.
Or I just resend it to you when we're done, just in case.
Yeah, why don't you do that? Because that'll make
If
my
I can
life
find
easy.
them again, yeah, I'll just resend it to you.
That's my problem. I can't find them.
Now you have 2 you can lose.
Lose them in stereo.
Is there a
I think
motion to adjourn?
Say again, Bill?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
The meeting is adjourned.